Good morning and welcome to Frank's School, the 90th day of the 7th year, halfway through if I go by 180, although I sort of retired my thinking that way a while ago. First video, only video, protesting with hammers. I protested even twice now. I've gone in to do the Fridays for Future protest, and I think the next time I'm going to take with me a hammer. Artists, where have the songs been? I was saying that there are similarities between the 1960s and the 2000 teens. Similarities, dissimilarities too. And one of the things I find is different is where are the songs? Where are the protest songs? I'm sure there's some out there, but there's none that are really catchy. In the 1960s, protest songs were a very driving force. The arts in general, I say the arts in general. Where are the movies? There are a few, very few. There are lots and lots of documentaries. But where are the movies made by the artists? I've talked about that a lot elsewhere. An example of a protest song from the 60s was Peter, Paul and Mary's If I Had a Hammer. It was a very catchy tune. A more famous tune is We Shall Overcome, which I suppose is catchy in a way as well, very slow. Everyone could sing it. Whereas If I Had a Hammer is upbeat, but it is definitely a protest song. And I thought, what if you took a song like that and changed the words a little bit? What if it went, If I Had a Hammer? And in my mind, I make it a chipping hammer. It could be any kind of a hammer at all, but a chipping hammer is what a welder uses to chip this or to knock the slag off. It's small. It's not very big. It's kind of pointed on one side. I should have brought one up from the shop to carry. And a holster, you wouldn't carry a chip, well, I guess you might carry a chipping hammer in a holster. But a holster is nothing but a ring, a metal ring. Some pants, actually, jeans have them sewn right into the jeans where the hammer hangs. Cat, get out of there. I'll make it a hammer. So anyway, if I had a hammer and I had a holster, I'd open carry all over this land. I'd open carry all over this land. Now, open carry, that phrase refers to people who love their guns so much and they feel so safe if they have a gun, and they're proud of their guns and what they could do with them, I guess. And the right to be able to carry a gun around and open is very important to them. Concealed carry, I think, I'm not into that dialogue so much, but I'm very much aware of it. But if I had a hammer, I'd open carry all over this land. So imagine protesters open carrying hammers in holsters. It wouldn't take much to do. It's a hammer for headlights. Yeah, if you know the song, Peter, Paul and Mary's song, I didn't work out some kind of a fixed text for an adaptation of it, but I'm showing you that it could easily enough be done. It's the hammer for headlights. With the chipping hammer, you could take a lot of headlights out all really fast. And I thought about there were two things I thought about from the Odyssey, which I'd recently restudied with the Hong Kong visitors. One was the part where the Cyclops, with his one eye in the middle of his forehead, the way they defeat the Cyclops or escape from him is to blind him. And the other thing was toward the end in the movie made for television, Odysseus says to his son Telemachus at one point, earlier he'd said, you need to save your anger. But right toward the end he said, now is the time for your anger. And I predict that it is going, right now we're in the midst of amazing passive, not so much passive resistance, but fairly quiet protesting on the part of young people. I'm talking about school strikes for climate and Fridays for Future. Just look at what happened in Montreal Friday, 27th, I think. Anyway, if I had a hammer, I'd open carry all over this land. I thought, people open carry not only guns or they open carry crosses everywhere. I don't wear a cross, but people all over the place open carry crosses. Well, it wouldn't actually be all that much different, but it would be a threat. I should start racing some of this stuff. It's the hammer for headlights. You know, and so now all of a sudden it's like, well, that's violent. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Protesting, I think, is going to get violent. Uh, it's the protest for Gaia. Now, see, now or it's the hammer for Gaia. In other words, this isn't done to harm things. This is done to save things. This is the hammer for Gaia. It's the hammer for love between all creatures and our species all over this land. This would be the hammer of love. You know, if you don't know the song by Peter, Paul and Mary, you don't know to what extent I'm pulling this stuff out. Another verse: if I had a slingshot, I'd sling it in the morning, shoot it in the evening, all over this land. Slingshot for street lights. That's the street, you know, for Gaia. If I had a pickaxe, I'd pickaxe in the morning and the evening all over this land. A pickaxe for roadways. All you'd have to do is enhance potholes, or just do just a fairly thin strip across a roadway or a pavement, and you would tremendously slow up traffic. And that's what I'm talking about, really. Slow the economy. Slow up the economy. Go back to being diurnal. In the daytime, you don't need headlights. People used to live in the daytime. And when the whole economy went nocturnal, I mean, that was at least doubling. It was more than doubling the damage that the economy had. And you might say, well, that's terrible. But it's an alternative to collapsing. There are so many people now, I read it all the time online, who have decided that the only solution is going to be an economic collapse. That's the only way. People will not back up. They will not give up their lifestyle with their, well, which I talk, they won't or they can't. But I'm suggesting, well, they could be forced very quickly. If in Turin, Italy, Friday, I think there were 50,000 people walking down the streets. 50,000 people. If they had a hammer, they could really slow things up well, forever. If I had a pickaxe, if I had a rifle, it's the rifle of pole lights. Well, there's no need for pole lights, and they're all over the land. You know, it would take a good shot. They make wonderful targets at night. How could you miss? Transformers. I've suggested other places in a way shooting out pole lights would be like shots across the bow, because the transformers would be the ones that would really slow things up. If I had a rock, it only really takes a rock to do an awful lot of this stuff. Well, I'd like to point out that all this, I maybe already have, all this, though this, I'm describing violent, very violent protesting, it's harmless. Not a soul would be hurt. As a matter of fact, souls would be helped. And very possibly none of this stuff would have to be done. But the song itself would be a threat. And that's sort of what this video is. The song itself would be a threat. Someone open carrying, not just someone, well, someone, yeah, but 50,000 people open carrying hammers, the little chipping hammers. That would be a threat. It could accomplish degrowth. Now, I not a soul hurt. I pointed out already. I mean, people might think, well, the world would come to an end. No, it wouldn't. You'd sleep at night. You'd be awake in the daytime. You would well, whatever. But anyway, I have SDS up here because back in the 60s, the SDS, one of the things, I mentioned this before, I couldn't go along with them on this because they wanted to they didn't seem to me to have an alternative. And I addressed this earlier. But their idea, they were violent, very violent, the Weathermen, very violent in their protesting. Because their thinking was you've got to destroy what's here and then build something else. That's not really what I'm saying here. That's not really what I'm saying. As I suggested before, there isn't really time. And I don't think everything has to be destroyed. So in a sense, I would leave these things alone. leave police and medical vehicles alone. You don't need to have disorder. It would just get the world's attention. So I knew this was going to be a little bit ragged, but I've got the word out there. Bye for now.